She's shy, restrained, and soft-spoken. She hardly walks a few steps on the ramp. Yet her collection comes out with a bang. Her clothes are bold without being overwhelming. Impactful yet subtle. Feminine yet strong. She's twirled the world and given every girl a key. And made sure no man forgets that a woman can wear his pants too. A dhoti, of course. Her clothes represent modern India and she is the modern Indian woman. Joining me on the India Edit is the one and only Anamika Khanna as we discuss global design and the Indian form. Thank you, Anamika, for taking the time out and joining us on the India Edit. This has been one of the conversations that I've really been looking forward to. And you're an absolute inspiration to me and to so many others that I really feel that this is going to be a conversation worth waiting for. So thank you for coming.
Mira, thank you. It is an honor for me to be here, to be chatting with you. And actually, I have been thinking about our last phone call that we had. And I know that this is a topic that touches your heart and mine. So I'm really looking forward to this.
I mean, there's nobody better to speak about global design and the Indian form than you. And I was like, I have to have this conversation with Anamika. I really want to pick her brain more than anything. So please excuse me in advance if I bother you or I ask you too many questions because there's so much that there is to learn from you. So, the world we live in is much smaller than it used to be before. We have everything in the palm of our hands, whether it's inspiration, creativity. An entire season of fashion weeks has gone by on the phone. And you could lose yourself and your own sense of identity along the way unless you really hold on to it and maybe somewhere hopefully find it again. And I've seen with your designs, they have always been global. They've truly been global, never restricting. It's high fashion at its best. And at the same time, it's innately Indian, it flatters the Indian form and it actually takes inspiration from it. Like you have the dhoti pant, which has been created by you, or the draped sari, and then suddenly you have an Elizabethan collar, Like give us a peek into your mind.
Mira, thank you. Those words are really kind. Ever since the day I started, I knew one thing, that I wanted to be myself and be who I am in every aspect of design. For me, it wasn't ever about wanting to fit into a certain space, wanting to be accepted. I really didn't care about going to the market, picking up fabric and doing shapes that were selling. I wanted to find my soul. I wanted to be so deeply entrenched in it that I could find my own noise. I could find my own voice actually. And just, it's almost like I drown in it. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years, morning to night. And that's all I think of. That we have so much. I mean, I'm an Indian. I have this heritage which no one else in the world has. And why is it that I will not dip into who I am and look for something else somewhere else? Besides the fact that, like you rightly mentioned, that everything is on our fingertips right now. I mean, we are on social media. The whole world is like this small thing in our palms, and there is no difference between India and the world. There was a time when you thought of Indian costume and people were thinking of flying carpets and people on elephants and turbans, right? Yeah. Not anymore. We are modern people. And when you talk about, understanding the shape, I'm a woman and I'm a modern, liberated woman. I've traveled the world and there is no reason why I should be an alien. And that's what I want to do with my design. I want my design to be not alienated with the rest of the world. I want to be at par in a way that we're Indian, yes, but we're also part of the world. We're not another
That's right.
planet.
Yeah.
You know, so
I
that's
mean,
where
we're Indian and not disconnected from the world. We can do both.
yeah, we
Right.
have our
Right.
identity. There's nothing that you can't say that we're not unique. Of course we're unique. But we're supremely unique, and that's great, no?
You know, I mean, that's wonderfully put. When I was digging up and doing some research and found these really old interviews, because I've noticed that they're so short and concise that it took me a while to really find out who Anamika is and where she comes from. And I read this one excerpt where it says that when I go back to Jodhpur, the best feeling is that I have a plate of oversized jalebis waiting for me. And the fact is that you grew up in Jodhpur and then you settled in Calcutta, and they're both these culture capitals. I mean, Jodhpur is folk culture, full of color and brightness and noise and music. And then you have Calcutta, which is like a refined art city. How did that impact you? How did that impact your design process? Because it's almost like creativity is all around us. We have no option but to grow up with it. How did that impact you? Two different worlds.
So it's basically, I very, very clearly believe that a true designer is someone who is aware of this, who is actually influenced with who their social spaces, where they live, what are the influences, what are the buildings around them, what is the food that they eat, what do the people around them dress. All of them will automatically, as a human being, influence you. You know, I can't be sitting in, say, Jodhpur and designing clothes like an American. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm obviously
Yes.
influenced. My nani sahab in Jodhpur, I've seen her trunks of lehengas. I've seen the kind of language. I've seen one of my mamas dressed like, in these breeches and boots and safaris, even every day in the morning. And even with his white kurta, he'll wear a pair of breeches, and, it's not compromisable. That was that side of it, which was just, it was just something that you just soak in. And Kolkata, there is something in the air here, it's not what you feel anywhere else. You feel a sense of, for example, today if you visit a home in Kolkata and somebody is sending you food, they're not just going to send you food covered with some kapra. They are going to decorate it, they'll put a boat with these gajras and they'll put leaves and they'll make sure that when the food is presented to you, it is beautifully presented. And that's something that we've been seeing and sensing for a long time. It is about the small beauties in Calcutta. We're not loud people, we're very subtle, we may not dress so much, but the people around here will inspire you with that art. The conversations are not about how much people have, what cars they drive. The conversations are slightly more personal, and the kind of artists we have here, when you talk about those addas and conversations, they're true, and that's what I've seen. I've grown up in it. So I may not have been influenced in my earlier years, but that influence was in the subconscious. And I
Of
really
course.
cherish it. I cherish those small things that I may have inherited unconsciously.
And despite the fact that you've grown up with so much culture around you, I remember the first time we met, you said my favorite colors are black and white. If I could, all my collections would only be black and white, but I have a business to sustain, so I have to have some color.
Yeah, which is true. Actually, my head is divided in two. My one part of my head is like totally traditional. I love doing the gotapatis and the zardozis and the whatever, And my other part is like completely the opposite, where I can go gothic. I can, it's something that I don't, and I do them side by side. So half an hour I'm sketching on something and working with my design team, which is completely Western, and trying to figure out whether the pants will be high waisted, how much skin to show. On the other hand, I'm doing a wedding lehenga in the next half an hour. So it's like this thing going on. I'm very comfortable doing it. And then in the middle,
That's why you're a design genius.
Well,
that's what happens, right?
Thank you. In the middle, I mix the two also. The middle part of my head is mixing the two. So that's when you see the overlap of Indian and Western. I mean, I don't like to use the word Indo-Western. I know everyone uses it for me, but somehow it just doesn't resound with me really well. But yeah, so I'm very comfortable with design. I want to design pots right now. I want to do a tea kettle.
That's amazing. And the fact is that you had no formal training. Like, I've read this everywhere, but you have to tell me, how did that happen? Like, how can you become this genius of a designer and have no training? That doesn't make sense to me.
I'm not a genius, Mira. I have to say that in this entire journey, I have worked really hard. You know, it's not something that one is born with and say, okay, I'm born like this designer and I know everything. It's something that has come over time with, you know, morning to night. If I've done this for 20 years, it has sort of developed into something with constant work. And I've studied probably much more than what I would have studied if I went to design school. And having said that, you know, I'm also free in my mind, no? There was no influence on me. There was no one telling me this is right and this is not right. I was learning with my mistakes. When I started, I didn't know what is a georgette. I didn't know what is a meter of fabric. It was just like, okay, let me figure this is 1 meter and I need these many inches and this is what a pattern is and this is a crossback. But I learned quickly because I worked very hard. You know, once I got into it, I realized this is what I'm born for and this is what I'm going to do. So yeah, it's constant trial and error, experimentation, and I guess with experience and also as time goes by, you know, those days of insecurity go away, you know. Like initially when you started, you need to be on point, you need to do trends, you need to be doing the right colors of the season, the right shapes of the season, this, that. But as I've gone along, you know, I'm more confident. I'm more sure that, okay, if I introduce something, maximum what will happen? They'll abuse me and not accept it. But chances are they will. So, you know, I'm willing to experiment now. I'm willing to take chances. I'm very fearless when it comes to design.
Yeah, that's visible because, like you said, it's so seamless how you have Indian embroidery and then you have a completely avant-garde outfit that comes out of it. And I kind of feel like you've been vocal for local long before it actually became a trend. Whether it was the embroideries or it was the fabric or it was the way you cut things, even the dhoti pant and the draped sari, for example. How did that happen? I mean, you go and you show at Paris and you're the first Indian designer to do that. Were you scared that I'm taking India and I'm taking a chance and showing them what I have? Or was it that, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I know. This is what I've grown up with. And that's what I want to show everyone over there.
I mean, with Paris Fashion Week, I was petrified. I mean, that's another story of my life. If you saw me at that time, I was like this zombie. And I'm going to share an incident. I know I'm going off topic a little bit. But so I had this person who was guiding me on Paris, and this gentleman was working in Europe as a consultant and all of that. So he asked me to produce these. He had seen some of our lehengas, right? And he said, you know what? Produce these lehengas for Paris and we put them with these shirts and women will go mad and, you know, this will happen, that will happen. So I created this, must have spent 6 months just making those. That was one part of the collection. And before the show, you know, you normally hire somebody who's a fashion edit or somebody who's a consultant and who's going to edit your collection, blah, blah, blah. So she went through the collection, right? And she's standing there and she's like, throw this out of the window, chuck that, put this in the dustbin, do this, do that. Everything she was just chucking. And I was like, you know what? Every time you're chucking something, my heart is getting chucked into the dustbin because I've given my life thinking I've produced these magical lehengas. I'm going to be the sensation and you've chucked everything out. And that's when I realized that, you know, we can't take this whole Indian craftsmanship, culture, heritage for granted. The world out there is a different world out there. I mean, somebody actually told me, oh my God, I love what you've created. I was like, really? And this is a really important person in the fashion industry, in the international fashion industry. She's like, oh my God, I love this, I love this. And I'm like, really? You love all of this? And she's like, yeah, I'd want to put it on the wall. And that's when I realized, you know what, she can't wear it. She wants to use it as a decoration. And you know, when I went international, I realized that the craft that we have is impeccable. I love it. But I need to draw the line. I need to know how much. I need to know where to stop. I need to know, you know, like as an Indian designer, I want to put everything in a garment. That's what we've been born with. Everyone just puts everything in everything. And I really got hammered there. I was like, you know what? This is a learning. I don't want to sit and cry. I want to learn from this and understand this is what editing is about. So, at the one side, so when you saw these designs becoming more and more um, experimental, or when you call it avant garde or whatever, this influence was very strong for me. This international exposure that I had when I realized that as an Indian, I'll wear a lehenga comfortably and go for a occasion. But in the world, they won't. They will be like, I'm wearing a costume for a theater.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to still make Indian clothes relevant. You still want to make sure that, like you're saying, it's not looked at as a costume. It needs to be a wearable garment that you can wear, and it has a little bit of experimentation or like an X factor or something like that. But I think it comes with a bit of restraint.
It has to, like the dhoti pants, Mira. So I've always been fascinated with the dhoti because you know when you go to Rajasthan, you see these men wearing these pagris and these Pathani kurtas and these dhotis and malmas. You're always fascinated with it. And then there's this Oja. There used to be this Oja ji in my workplace, and I'm like, Oja ji, I want to learn how to tie the dhoti and come and wrap it on the mannequin. He thought I'm mad. But he started doing it, and that's when it struck me that as a dhoti, it's such a beautiful piece of garment. We are not going to wear a dhoti because once you go into the bathroom, you're done then. You'll come out wearing a lungi or something.
It's not practical.
It's not practical at all, and there's too much volume. As a woman, I don't want to look fat. You know, size is not such a thing, but I don't want to look bigger than who I am already. So I started, you know, making it slightly more luxury, giving it a waist, trying to cut it in a way that it's more flattering to the Indian shape and stuff like that. You know, just modernizing it. So, you know, every story is, the sari was the same story. I realized a lot of the young girls I met said, I don't know how to wear a sari. Or it's too cumbersome. Or whatever. And I'm thinking, how can we let it go? It's the most beautiful thing India has given to the world. A piece of fabric which you wear in so many ways. Where else can you do it? I don't want to let it go. So I started again experimenting, draping, thinking about it as to what can happen that I don't lose the dignity of the sari. I don't lose it, but yet it doesn't become irrelevant because today's somebody who's 18 or 20 or even 30 is not wearing the sari in the sari way.
That's true. I mean, it's kind of gotten preserved and much easier to wear. I mean, we're not scared to wear a sari anymore. I mean, I learned how to wear a sari, but I know a lot of my friends were like, listen, we don't know, especially, you know, at a time when the first time a girl probably wears a sari is at her farewell in school. You know, that's the time when you have to wear a sari, and it's kind of like this coming of age moment when you get to wear a sari, and everything is about getting the right blouse and the right sari, and it is quite stressful, you know. How are you going to tie it? How are you going to manage? What will happen if it falls apart? So I get what you're saying. And speaking of fit and flattering the form, I did remember reading that you said when you went to Paris, that's where you saw how they used to cut the fabric and the pattern in a way to flatter the body. And you know, the Indian body, I mean, everyone's bodies are different. I would not like to say the Indian body or anything like that, but everyone's bodies are different. And at the same time, knowing how to cut that garment or that piece of fabric to flatter every body type isn't very easy. I mean, we've seen that we are very good at embroideries and craft and fabric and textile. Fit is something that we're yet to become masters of. A sari is easy because it's one piece of fabric, but do you feel we still have a little while to go.
I'm talking about when I started out and when I went abroad as an Indian designer, thinking that I am this diva, I have these embroideries which nobody has and no one can do. So I'm going to be this hot thing internationally, right? And that's the feeling I had because in India we were making salwar kameezes that really don't have a structure or a shoulder pad or a you can get away with. There's not even a small, medium, large. There's just this one size, and somehow it just works, and that's how it was 20 years ago. Or there was the lehenga. But doesn't it amaze you and fascinate you to think that the choli or the Indian sari blouse fits women like nothing else in the world? I mean, think about it. We talk about construction and tailoring in the Western context. These people, I mean, when we talk about Jodhpur, I met this gentleman in Jodhpur. He's a master G, and he was hesitant in taking my measurements, right? And he was like, "मैंने आपको देख लिया." I was like, "Okay," and I was very curious as to what he's going to do. So he was meant to make a blouse, and the kurti kanchli blouse, and a safari for me. He just sent this to me as if it was sewn onto my body. It's really amazing, fascinating what we have. And on the other side, when we actually started making Western clothes and all, we didn't understand I'm talking about myself, I did not understand the importance of pattern making. I did not understand what is the right crossback or an armhole, what it is that, the way things need to be molded, the way fabrics fall, what is a bias, all those things for me I learned quickly because I realized that if the clothes need to be modern, there has to be that different kind of fit as well. So I'm not going to discard the fact that we probably have the best construction in the world in one way, and on the other side, actually it's so large, no? The whole country is so large, everyone's just doing whatever. Yeah, so both sides to it, There's one side where we can match anyone in producing fitted, perfectly stitched clothes, and on the other side, we're just doing whatever. So
yeah, I mean, like you said, on one hand, we're producing so many clothes. I mean, we are manufacturing clothes for almost all labels and all designers in the world. But we're not at the start of that chain, and neither are we at the end of the supply chain. And that really brings me to something that I want to ask you about, which is building an Indian brand that can stand against the best in the world. Now, we all do have a certain degree of brand obsession. Whenever we travel, it's at one time, and for most of us, it's at one time when we go and we shop and we pick up those key pieces, and we're okay to spend pounds and pounds of money on a coat or a t-shirt with a brand on it. And we wouldn't do the same over here. Is that because we don't have a brand which has that kind of brand value? Because at the end of the day, I wouldn't want to disregard the fact that if I spend a certain amount of money on a particular piece which screams the label, people are going to know how much I've spent on it. Now things are changing a little bit with many designers coming up with a pret line or knitwear, sportswear, athleisure, things that are easier to wear and easier to pick up, because we've been restricted to Indian wear all the time. And my question is that, do you feel that Indian designers can only make Indian clothes? Or is it about time and is there a space now in designers now who are probably carving out a place for themselves to make this brand and have this identity, where someone would probably do that when they come here. When they come and they shop, they would pick up something from here, or merchandisers would come and pick up pieces or swimwear from designers here and have them in the multi-designer stores abroad.
So, Mira, I'm going to answer this in two parts. There is one part where one sort of wonders why no Indian brand has made an international name or a label or brand as big as, let's say, the Armanis or the Versace's of the world, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to break this into two, and there's a few key reasons why up to now we haven't been able to do it, and then I'll talk to you about the change which I feel has happened. So up to now, number one, I feel that the designers in India are also running their own businesses. It's not like that they are only the visionaries and the designers. So those at that point, including me, we've all got entrapped in the fact that we don't just have to design, we have to supply, manufacture, we have to look after finances, we have to market, we have to do the whole gamut of it, and we get so engrossed in it that the whole world gets lost as a bigger picture. That's one part of it. Secondly, I feel we have suffered with this lack of pride. As an Indian, I feel a product which is an international product is better than an Indian counterpart. We've always felt that if there's a Firang in front of me, what they are saying is more right than what I'm saying. We've always had this sense of inferiority complex, if I may say so. And it's a fact. You'll proudly wear a, let's say, not getting personal, but you'll proudly wear a DNG, but you'll proudly may not wear an Indian label. There is this.
There is a hesitation. Yeah, there's a hesitation. But I mean, I have now changed my way in doing things, especially like dressing up. Yeah.
So also, Mira, there's a very important thing. Internationally, they are very regimented. They follow spring, summer, autumn, winter, resort collection, this collection. There's a certain way of doing this. What do we do in India? I mean, I'm getting calls that, what have you sent for Karwa Chauth? Now, what do I say? That I've sent spring, summer. You know what I mean? And if I don't adapt to the Indian situation, that there's a wedding season, there's Diwali shopping, there's Holi, and there's kitty parties, and I can't deny it.
I mean, that's a fair point. We have our own fashion calendar.
Yeah, so then this whole thing gets a bit mixed up, that I can't tell my Indian customer, who's my main customer right now, that I've launched these key pieces of spring summer, because here they're going to come and say, I hope no one else has got it. Because it's a limited market. That was one of the reasons also that all the Indian designers have to sell to survive. You can't do magic, right? So to get that balance right is also, plus we've also always depended on labor which may not be educated in the sense to understand the value of deliveries on time or certain quality standards or certain, which is a small part because things have really changed now. And coming to that change, like you said, you are now changing the way you are thinking or wearing your clothes or using your products, just like I am, because we've come out on our own. We are proud to be Indian now. We're proud to use an Ayurvedic versus a XYZ imported cream. Yeah. Lockdown pushed this on us even more, and we realized that what we have is fantastic. Yeah. And same thing with the clothes, that even as designers, the entire design community, well, not the entire design community, but a huge section of it is also adapting themselves to make things which are not just Indian but can be international as well.
Yeah, that is happening. That change is coming about where designers are recognizing that there is a market for that. And like you're saying, many people say that, I hope nobody else is wearing that. And I kind of feel like that happens when you travel abroad. You're one of so many that just if you really want to be different, it's right there in your backyard. I mean, I could wear this top to a dinner in London and everyone would be wondering where it is and where it's from. And the fact is that it's your piece, and that is what makes it unique for me, because it is accessible for me, but it's something different for them. And now I think we are recognizing that, and even like we discussed, like sportswear or ready to wear, like I have an AKOK set in my cart. I was just checking it out last night. And because that revolution is happening where it's also become a little more affordable. It has become more wearable. You can wear it many more times. That people with the spending power, and especially those who are working, they don't mind shelling out that money to buy something that they can wear again and again and again.
I feel that the generation change brings a lot of change, no?
Yeah.
Like the AKOK is a different generation altogether.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
That revelation where you become one with the world. So we are getting inquiries more from international waters than from India, which is surprising. Because, we never thought that this is going to happen. But for after the launch of AKOK, we're getting a lot of people shopping from America. And I'm like, really? What's happening? And not even Indians. They're Americans shopping. So, that shift is happening. It's slow. It's going to take a huge amount of time to build a brand, let's say a Chanel, that's taken 100 years. And as a fashion industry, we're only 25 years old. You know what I mean? True. So that also change. And then people are now started investing in designers. They've started believing in designers. I believe a conversation that I got really offended a long time ago. This must be almost 15 years ago or probably whatever. And there was this talk going on, one of our EO chats. And I'm not going to name the gentleman, but he was like, "Oh, I don't want to." Somebody asked him that, you're doing all this. Why are you not investing in designers? I don't want to work. I want my people to work in the day and not in the night when the designers are partying and they're sleeping and just having fun. So that was the mindset people had, that designers are not reliable people. They'll be partying somewhere and not be interested in work. That mindset has changed. It's become professional. Everyone's getting on point, learning from their mistakes, and it's going to be a while, but I think India very soon is going to be the strongest. Earlier, it was just outsourcing of raw material and embroideries and all that. That's going to change. I see it happening.
Now, we can't not talk about one of the most integral parts of Indian culture, which is weddings. It is integral to fashion as much as it is to India. I mean, it's the cultural fulcrum of our society, whether it's emotionally, commercially, economically, you name it. Weddings are the center of many a situation. And I mean, I came to you when I needed to do my trousseau and my lehenga, and even at that time, I can't forget those few things you said, like this black and white thing, and you were like, I know that these are the colors that I like, but I have to do these reds and greens and oranges for the brides who really want it. And I mean, tell us about the business of weddings. Now, we can't ignore it. It is a business. It is an entire season in the fashion industry, if we can call it. It's also the time where many trends are showcased, and it's that one time when every designer works as a businessman or a businesswoman for that matter, knowing that this is that one time that I'm going to rake in as much as possible. And I mean, we're talking very bluntly, but it's true. That's when everyone wants to spend money. They don't mind. But at the same time, it's something that you have forever. And when I came to you and you were like, I don't want you to have something which you can't pass down to your daughter. And that time, obviously, I didn't have one. And now I feel that lehenga that you made for me, it's timeless. It's something that I can pass down to her as an heirloom. And somewhere in between fast fashion and weddings and the entire hustle bustle of everything, I think we've forgotten that little important emotion, which is an heirloom, or the emotion behind the wedding. And how do you go through a situation where a bride comes to you, or you need to do a wedding, a wedding collection or a bridal collection? What goes through your mind as a designer as well as a businesswoman?
So, when you pick up this point, this realization that in India, every single family, every father, whatever social strata it might be, saves for his daughter's wedding, saves for his son's wedding. And that is something, they save gold, they buy jewelry. When you're born, your parents start collecting, they start making a trousseau. Different social spaces start doing different things. People are collecting shawls and saris and, building a trousseau forever. We can't deny the magnanimity of this situation. And when we talk about the Indian fashion industry, on the one side, everyone survives because of this. You need to make sure that the amount of people that you employ and all the craftsmen and all of that, it's an informal industry. It is not an organized industry, but it is an industry that supports huge amount of people. The craftsmen, the florists, the entertainers, the decor people. It's like a huge number of people. And as designers, there's one set of designers who may have, and I'm going to say this bluntly, have forgotten the actual ethos or the emotion of the wedding. And it's just like to make this more and more and more and more filled up and heavy so that you can sell it for more. And it's happening. So I'm just going to mention it. I'm going to get beaten for it, but it's a truth. And even a lot of the for a lot of the people who are involved in the wedding or the bride and groom have also somewhere gotten so engrossed in the big fat Indian wedding that it's almost like, their wedding is their announcement that they have arrived at the social scene, which is what bothers me a lot. And I feel that every time I design a wedding outfit for someone, I'm connecting my heart with yours because you are trusting me with your most important day of your life. It's the most important outfit of your life that, every bride dreams of. And I get emotionally connected to this. And that's why I don't do that many numbers. That's how much you can get emotionally connected. And I hold myself back because you don't want to make fast fashion in a bridal outfit. There's so much more. You're going to do your fairas in it in an Indian wedding. How do you not consider that as the thing of supreme? Like it's really important.
It's sacred. I mean, to me, a wedding is sacred. It's not, for me, it wasn't an announcement to the world. For me, it's a promise that I'm making to a higher power that I promise to be with this person for the rest of my life. And when I came to you and I was like completely a deer in the headlights, I had no idea. I was all of 20 and I was like, what am I going to do? Like, you tell me, you decide, you tell me what you like. And I was like, my mom said, because I have two elder sisters and neither of them had worn red. So they were like, she said, at least one of my daughters should wear red. And I was like, okay, fine. And I remember telling you, listen, we can do red and it's going to be a destination wedding. And like a month before, everything got changed. I was like, no, it's not a destination wedding anymore. It's happening in Delhi and it's a morning wedding. And I was like, now's the time. I need to tell her what I really want and I want to wear pink. I don't want to wear red. I don't know how you did it. You just sent me like a WhatsApp picture. This has just come from the workshop. Do you like it? And it was like this tiny image, it was a picture of a picture. And I can't thank you enough. It was the outfit of my dreams and I'm definitely going to pass it down to my daughter.
I remember, every time you deliver a wedding outfit, at least for me, my heart is in my mouth. I'm literally choking, I'm dying. That's why I don't like to attend weddings of brides that are wearing my clothes because it's just too stressful. And I remember I'd send these two boxes to you, Mira, and I'm waiting. And you call me and you're like, Anamika, there are these two tiny boxes. And then when you open it, you're like, oh my god, thank goodness. It was just that moment when I'm just crossing my fingers and I'm just hoping that it's all right. And that's one emotion which I feel it's just so important. It's just so, relevant to us. I know everyone advises me to not get so connected, to not do these individual pieces, to not meet everyone and just think about it as a business. And I'm fortunate enough that even while I'm able to do this, I'm also able to generate the business. And probably I'm generating this business because I'm so involved in each one of it.
And
So
passionate.
it's both sides to it. I mean, I know that I can scale it up 30 times more, but will I be happy at that time? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's an extremely fair point. You can't let the business somewhere take over your creativity, because it's the creativity that's given birth to the business.
It's actually a catch-22. So when you say that, how do you become like this worldwide brand and sell in 700,000 stores, then somewhere you also need to let go and compromise. So it's like a catch-22, that where do us designers, where do we draw the line? What's the, and I've been through this dilemma a large number of times, and everyone advises me this side and I'm that side. So it just goes on. Yeah.
Anamika, something that really resonated with me was that, like me, you were a young mom. You had both your boys when you were really young. And that's the time when all girls are like raring to go and start their career. And I remember having those feelings where I saw that, here I am and I'm married and I'm pregnant, or I'm having a baby, and my friends are like rushing past and having their careers. And I mean, now I definitely feel really blessed because my kids are settled, and now I have the time to do things like this. And way back then, that was the way things used to happen. I mean, not way back, I mean, not like it was decades or something ago, but you still have become one of, if not the best designer in the country, even though you had a fairly conventional, very traditional start. And I know that today, and I've had this discussion many a times with my friends, and it's, we agree to disagree that career first or family first. And this is something I want to ask you on a very personal level, that to a modern Indian girl, modern Indian woman today, because you know that we can have it all. Just maybe not all at the same time. It kind of just takes time and has its own steps, and it happens in its own pace. So what would you like to say to every modern Indian woman out there who wants to have a family, she wants to have a career, that she can be the best and still have and not need to give up on the important things in life or the things that are intangible?
So Mira, when you ask this, when I went through that phase, I probably, it was a struggle. And I'm not going to deny that it wasn't a struggle. I just started my career, and you want to be the best everywhere. And the only thing I can say today, that what paid off, is that I wasn't deterred by the fact that I had to work not just doubly but perhaps 10 times harder. I did not get, my focus remained the same. I had a vision and I did not want to lose that vision. And to hold on to that, I had to give a lot more than probably someone else would give, because I had my twins, and there was this thing that I also want to be a fantastic mom. I don't want to, let them just be and just, let it be. I didn't want to compromise. So obviously you make sacrifices on yourself. You make sacrifices on your personal time. You make sacrifices that maybe you can't go for a holiday for some time. Maybe you can't put up your feet and read a book in peace. All those things but the fact is that both these things I have chosen to love. Nobody's forced it on me. Nobody forced me to love what I do in my workspace. Nobody forced me to love my children. I can choose not to love both and be whatever. But the fact is, this is something I want for myself. And when I want it for myself, I have to give it everything I have got to make it happen. So, as a woman, we are so powerful in our head. If we decide to do, why two things? We decide to do 100 things, we'll achieve it. And I want to tell all the girls out there that it is possible to achieve whatever you set out for. You can have a family, you can have a career, it will be tough. How can it be easy? How can anything be easy? Even if you don't start a family or go in that direction and you have a career, isn't that tough itself? It's not going to come on a platter. You got to work for it, but don't give up. This giving up doesn't work. You have to, you have to know as a woman you're so powerful. I feel very powerful. And now my boys, they give me more power. It's the most happiest moment of my life when these two have launched AKOK. And when so it's joy that they bring. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have compromised either for even 1 minute. And now when I think back, I probably didn't meet as many friends. I didn't go to parties. I didn't do many things, but it's all worth it. Yeah, this is what I feel.
And I think in all respects, you've been like a path breaker and a trailblazer. I feel like you're an inspiration not just to me as a mom or as a woman or as someone, who many a times could get bashed for being in the public eye for staying true to who they would like to be, but also as a designer, you have held on to your roots, you've held on to your culture, you've held on to the Indianness, and at the same time, I think evolved, made sure that it stays relevant for the world. It can take on a global persona, and I think that is something that is very rare to find. And there are so many people who want to make that mark. They're realizing the value that we have in our culture. They're realizing that it's a treasure, and they want to take it to the world. So for them, what would you like to say? They are struggling between holding on to their roots, but fitting into the world. What would you like to tell them?
Mira, first of all, thank you for your very, very, very kind words. I still have a long way to go in my journey. The one thing I would tell the younger generation, if I may say so, switch off your social media as much as you can. That's number one.
Switch off.
Yeah, just switch it off for as long as possible. What is happening? A lot of people are realizing the importance of our own identity, but at the same time, there is so much influence with Instagram, with this, with that. Your mind automatically isn't sure of where you are supposed to go. When do you do deep work, Mira? When your phone is not with you. When are you thinking you're most creative? When you're not scrolling through your Instagram and getting influenced by other designers. That is one thing that I'm not saying it's not important. It's very, very important to be relevant. It's important to be on social media, all of that. But that's not the end on and be all of your design influence. When we were starting out and when we were growing up, there was nothing. I didn't even have proper magazines available to me. So it's something that pushed ourselves to think for ourselves, and that has stopped happening. I think most of the kids who are designers have started getting influenced by all the international whatever is happening and thinking that this whole Indian thing is not out there, so it's not good enough. And that confusion, you want this, but you're not able to sustain it because you're seeing something else which is getting more likes or more followers. And that's a big confusion happening in this whole space. It's all about what you posted or how many followers. Why someone has more followers and you're feeling depressed because you didn't get enough likes on something. Where is the creativity going? Am I going to create based on how many likes I'm going to get? I mean, that balance is getting a little distorted, and it's really up to us to sort of sit back and think that what are we creating? Why are we creating? Who are we creating it for? What is it doing to our souls? This generation who's lost between realizing their own heritage and where they come from and their roots and being proud of it is getting confused with what they are seeing. So somewhere
it's a
that
very valid point.
That balance, that whole thing. Even today, I know it's important. I know it's happening, But today I'm not going to allow myself to be judged by how many likes I got. I mean, maybe people were busy, maybe they were doing something, maybe they saw it and they didn't press like. That doesn't mean the design was bad. I mean, is that fair? You know what I mean? It's very stressful.
Yeah.
It's very stressful.
Yeah.
Once you leave that stress out of your mind, no, and you create with freedom, and you just create because you want to create, not because you want to post it, that creativity, that intensity, that what you're going to achieve, it's going to be something else.
I think that's one of the nicest things you said. Extremely relevant, and it is hard hitting. It's a harsh fact, and it's something that we all should think about. And before you go, I have a small little fun game to play with you. It's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and you can just tell me whatever comes on the top of your mind.
No, I'm going to ask you these questions.
First me, then you.
Okay, no, why not? I want to ask you first.
Okay, fine. First you.
Then we'll see whether I want to go through it or not.
Okay, fine.
It's going to be naughty here.
Okay.
Mira, so what about Shahid irritates you?
Okay. What about him irritates me? He's very messy on the dinner table. That irritates me.
Okay, so what is the staple on the dinner table? What is the most loved cuisine at home?
So unfortunately, the staple is what Shahid likes, and that's ghar ka khana, and it's like ghiya and yellow dal most of the time. Even I enjoy having it. I just have it with a mirchi ka achar or a chutney. So that's the staple.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
To press reset in my mind. Not get stressed and just reset.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that. How much time of the day your skincare and your hair regimen take?
10 minutes, not more than that. Only on a Sunday, it's like half an hour, 1 hour.
And then you look like this.
It's thank you, but it's 10 minutes every day. I don't have the patience to do 1 hour of a face routine every day. Our questions are more fun. Okay, but my turn. 5 crafts that have influenced you.
Okay. The 5 crafts. I have to put them in order because
or
there's
like
so
traditional
many.
elements, in any order, no specific order.
Quilting, which I'm obsessed with. You'll be surprised. Which in the traditional Katha style, the Varli art, the Katha, that has influenced me in a big way. Banarasi, the weave, but the authentic, the zari weave, which was done with resham, and it was real zari, the Banarasi weave. I'm not going to call this a craft, but I'm going to say this as a shape is the sari. So it's not a traditional craft. Kachi embroideries, which I'm obsessed with. I'm also obsessed with Kazakhstan. That whole Turkish, that whole influence of their crafts and their techniques is really, it's there in my system. I'm also influenced very heavily with Parsi Gara work.
I love it too. I think that's what's here.
Yeah, that's a version of it. So, like what I keep doing is I take a craft and then I push the limit a little bit to see where else it can go. You can't take the Gujarati, the Kachi mirror work or something and just put it as it is. You got to push it and make it more modern. And that's what I try and do with every little craft bit of ours. So I can get influenced by anything. I mix different crafts together. It's like this melting pot. If you visit my workspace and come to our factory and all, it's just madness.
One day I'm gonna come. Okay. 4 fashion commandments that you would like to pass on to the next generation.
For one, be yourself. Don't follow fashion trends because they may work for you, but they also may not work for you. So be sure about yourself, develop your own style. There is no need to dress in a designer top to bottom. Mix and match. Find your own calling there and be sure about that too. Carry your own confidence. So sometimes when you're really badly dressed and then your face has gone down and you're just feeling really low about the fact that you may not be rightly dressed, it shows. So, however you are, that confidence in yourself is really important. And be humble, be smile enough, be gentle, be empathetic. And that becomes a very important part of your own fashion. Fashion doesn't need to be flashy on your face. It may not have to show off a designer's name all the time. If you're sensitive to what you buy, if you're sensitive to what is in your wardrobe, why you bought it, what's gone behind it, it makes a lot of difference in the way your own fashion is.
Amazing. Okay. 3 trends that you'd like to do away with, and you have to be absolutely honest. The trends you despise and you want to just do away with them as of yesterday.
Actually, there's quite a few trends that I want to. I'm going to talk in the Indian context.
Okay.
Net. I want to take scissors and rip them. Like I cannot deal with it. So yeah, that's one, which now bothers me to no end. Okay, what else do I hate right now? I go through phases, right? I mean, sometimes I just completely love something, and then there are times when I can't stand anything, which happens with color a lot. Super skinny. Like skinny jeans with skinny tops, like fitted, shaped t-shirts with skinny jeans. I can't deal with it. Like I cannot handle it. Then what else? I'm actually thinking there's so much. Overdressing.
Completely agree. I always feel I'm underdressed.
That's why I'm so elegant all the time. You just there's no need to unless you are this different person on an everyday basis. There is no need to go all out. And sometimes also what happens is you're trying to put Indian things with Western, trying to make a statement. This whole trying too hard to make a statement.
A look.
Yeah, I mean, there's no need, right?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, once in a while you make that statement, it's okay. You can't wake up in the morning every day and make a statement.
I love that. Okay. 2 pieces of clothing that you feel will stay relevant anywhere in the world and at any time.
I think a beautiful shawl. A stole or a scarf or something that will stay relevant. And I'm going to be cliched and say a pair of jeans.
Of course. Yeah. And I'm quite surprised that you said a shawl and a pair of jeans, because normally people say sari, but I feel today like you can take a shawl and a pair of jeans anywhere, anytime, and look fabulous.
You can be anywhere in the world and not be out of context, and you can also be in India with it.
Yeah.
And not be out of context.
And my last question is one word to describe India.
Incredible.
Actually, for me, this conversation has been incredible. I hope I haven't bugged you asking you all of these questions, but it was my one chance, and I was like, yeah, let's just do it. I stayed up, did my research, wrote down all my questions, and I was like, this one I have to be really prepared for. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for joining me on the India Edit and being yourself. That's what the world loves you for. That's what inspires me. And really, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Mira, thank you. It was such an inspiring conversation for me to just sort of go back to what my own thoughts are, for which I'm greatly thankful to you. And it's been an inspiring morning.
So like, share and subscribe.